I always enjoy when I get another, energy, like a synergy in the energy. It's almost like I think that hey Fred, does synergy have energy in it? In the terms of the
Uh,
word, I'm trying to do. I'm good, man, but I ain't that good. How quick are you, brother? Come on
I'm
now.
thinking it does have it, but we would have to start the word
S
energy
Y
with a
N
Y. It would be
E
with a
R
Y.
G Y E N E R G Y. Gotcha. Okay. All right, man. All right.
No, you'd have
Hey,
to start it with a Y. And I think most millennials, that would be close enough to just pass on a spelling test if you
yeah,
started
yeah, yeah.
energy with a Y,
Yeah.
man.
You know what's funny about what we just did right there is that like you draw out something so simple. I've always laughed because I have some things don't make sense to me, and it's like the simplest thing.
Come on.
But then
Everything
I
makes sense to me, Manny.
yeah,
You come to the right guy tonight because
I like it.
I got it down. So
I
let's get
dig it.
that shit taken
Oh,
care of.
oh,
Yeah.
oh we're gonna maximize that then. So look, we're connected here, man. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I can already tell. I like
Mhm.
to kick these things off, man. I like to open it up with a little bit of you telling your story, give me some background, and then from there, I'm just gonna open it up like a can of worms because you're gonna say a bunch of good stuff, and I'm gonna have at it with it. We're
All
gonna
right.
we're gonna
I'm
enjoy
game.
we're gonna enjoy the process, my man.
I'm
So
game. I'm game.
let's dive into that. We're recording already, man. You're already on. You're hot.
How's my hair?
Mike's hot. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you talking about the chin hair? You talking about the head hair?
oh, the chin hair is rocking, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
rocking some nice chin hair. That's for sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
folks, go over to Always on the Grow on YouTube and make sure you look at our faces right now because I'm showing him my gray hair. I got a little patch right there. I don't know if you can see it. It's
Yeah.
like it's coming in right there, my man. So I'm trying to
Great.
someday I'm gonna look like you right there, right? With all them gray
Yeah.
fuzzes.
Someday you will. Maybe. Here's the thing, Manny. Let's see. How old are you? Like 20?
20, if I had gray hair like that at 20, man, I feel like something's wrong. I'd be having to go to the doctor to get a heart test for stress, man. No, I'm 35.
35. Okay.
35.
So look, I'll be turning 64. I'll be turning 64 in about a month and a half. So
Wow.
we're talking about 29. I was 20, 28 and a half, 29 when you were born. Let me tell you the story about a little bit about before you were born. So before you were born, I was born, and I was born into a world that was looking for communication and connection. It was looking for some degree of cohesiveness. As it turns out, even inside my personal family, I had two parents, two older brothers, and I was told later that the whole purpose of having me as a child was to kind of turn them back around. I mean, what was happening was a lot of chaos and a lot of ambiguity and difficulty communicating. And so I brought communication into the world. That was my job. And I've learned that like many, many years later. So I've been totally enchanted with communication, connection, creativity, conversation, as a way of being with other people. I remember literally standing up in my playpen and watching my parents and my brothers talk as yap, 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 yap. And then this and that would happen, and I'd wonder what they were saying, and I soon became just someone who was completely riveted to communication. So by the time I started elementary school, I was already pretty precocious. My two brothers had taught me how to read. They taught me the alphabet. They taught me how to do math. So, I was actually reading, but while my like classmates were picking their nose and throwing blocks. And I began to talk a lot. I talked a lot. I know that surprises you. And I mean, but at the time I was talking a lot. And what I was doing was cracking jokes, getting funny, because I was smart enough that no teacher could do anything but pass me with the highest grades, except when it came to like, self-control or work habits or crap like that. And I got bad grades in those things. But there is no elementary school teacher that has forgotten having Fred Moss as their student, because I really did like to talk. I really did. And I kept on thinking, wow, my brother then went into psychiatry. And then I thought, well, I want to be a communication specialist. What else is there to do? So I thought, well, in junior high, I'll learn how to communicate. And I got to junior high and it was actually worse. I was like, okay, maybe junior high is not the place. Let's go to high school. In high school, you're going to learn how to communicate. So I was so excited to get in ninth grade. I walk in that high school and there's not that much communication going on. I'm like, shit, man, I got to go to college now. So then I went to, I grew up in Detroit. So, they had those cool helmets over there in Ann Arbor. I was like, okay, University of Michigan. I'm going to University of Michigan. So I made it my business to go to Michigan. I think you see where this goes, Manny. By the time I got to Michigan, communication was even worse. So I left again. I'm like, shit, I am not doing school. This is not where communication happens. Hit the road. go find what my life is about. And that didn't work out so good. Came back to school, gave it one more ride. Still didn't work out, quit again. And now I was like, Mom, I'm not going back to school. She's like, you gotta get a job then. Yeah, moms will be like that, right? You got a mom that probably does that. You have a mom, right? Most of us have moms.
Yeah, my mom passed away when I was young, but it's just the way the world works, man. I've learned a lot. It's been a blessing, living in her honor. So to answer your question, I don't, but it's made me who I am today. So
Exactly.
please continue with your march, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah. So his mom said, you got to get a job. So she got me a couple of civil service applications. And in a moment, I had a job at a state hospital for adolescent boys. I was working with adolescent boys, but I wasn't going to take to the floors, man. I was just going to be there for orientation, like 40 hours a week times $13 an hour times 3 weeks. That should be enough to buy me a car. And then I can go around the country and figure out what my damn life is about and communicate. But those 3 weeks happened and I was ready to go. I'm like, bye, Paul. He was my orientation friend. He says, Fred, you got to come on the floors with me at least a day, or else I'll have to quit. I'm like, he guilted me in. I'm like, okay, let's go. We got on the floors. And it was really been 42 years ago.
Wow.
Actually, 42 years ago, January 5th, 1980 is what we're talking about here. Literally 42 years ago. And you want to know what's so funny about that? For all of those 42 years, I've been quitting in 3 weeks. That hasn't changed. I bet that 3 weeks has been the carrot in front of me for the last 42 flipping years, man. I thought I'll do this for another week. And then I'm quitting in 3 weeks. So here I am 42 years later, having done mental health directly and solely for those 42 years. And here's the thing. What I loved about it was all I had to do was communicate with these kids. All I had to do was look them in the eye and get that I really understood them as humans, and neither of us know shit about nothing.
Amen, man.
And it's all they have to know is that I know that they don't know, and they know that I don't know, and that's how we start. Like welcome to humanity is how that starts, right?
But you're in it together. You'll figure it out in some way, shape, or form. I'll be here for you. You be here for me, type of thing. And
exactly.
Then,
just two humans trying to figure out. I'm sorry they called you sick because I don't think you're sick. You're just you. So we went through. I really loved that job. Got to work afternoons. Got to hang out late. Got to do a lot of cool things. And I didn't like the way psychiatry was treating the kids. I really didn't. We'd call them up and say, Johnny's up too late, or Sally yelled at us, and they'd come out and they'd have one word with Sally or Johnny, and then they'd write a prescription. We'd have to hold these kids down and jam them full of drugs. And then the next day they'd be, they'd just be comatose. And then we'd have to write that the drugs worked because the kids are comatose. I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't need to be doing this. I'm going to go be a doctor the right way. So back to school I went, Manny, 13 more years. And I went back so that I could be a psychiatrist, so I could do this shit right. And that's exactly what happened. 13 years later, I graduated from, it was around 30, it was 8 years later that I graduated as a doctor from Northwestern in Chicago. And then, after my residency, I'm a true blown psychiatrist. I've been working around psychiatry, I've been in every nook and cranny that I know about in psychiatry. I mean it, every single one. And I've had 40,000 people that have called me their doctor at least for 1 second in their life. And I've written in a lot. That's how many charts I've written into. And I don't do that anymore, Manny, because you know what? Psychiatry took a big turn. And the turn that it took was a turn towards biology, or a turn toward chemical imbalances, which I already told you, I'm not down with that.
Oh, interesting.
You're just another person. I don't need to know about any kind of chemical imbalance. That's assuming there's such thing as a chemical balance. I haven't met anybody who's balanced. Maybe you have. There's some millennials who act like they're balanced. I know that, but I don't know any balanced dudes. We're all imbalanced. So I started doing stuff. I started taking people off of medicine. I started taking them off. Then I started taking them off their diagnosis because that wasn't helping them. And I started treating people like humans that they are. And you know what, Manny? People started getting better all over my space. People started healing. How did they heal? Because I listen, or I'm entertaining. But I'm truly caring. I'm truly caring. And what that means, that's what people want. People want to be cared for. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to be gotten for who they are. And I have devoted my last, 20 years or so to really day by day, getting a little bit better at that, so that now I've arrived at a space where Welcome to Humanity is the big brand that I have. And, my side brands, including one called Global Madness, another one called, True Voice Podcasting, which we'll probably talk a lot of today, True Voice Podcasting Mastermind, and the whole True Voice methodology. It's all about the same thing, man. It's about the same thing I was learning when I was in that playpen looking at my brothers and my parents. And it was just like, I don't have to read a journal to tell you what people want to be is heard.
Make it easy. Make it easy on them. You all heard that.
Yeah, that's just as simple as that.
Yeah. So keep it on that same simple, jumping in there. So keep it on that simple thread. You mentioned the word a lot at the beginning of, jumping into your story there, the communication word. What do you define communication as? Because I know you could pull up a dictionary and it could say what you want it to say, and you're like, great, that's the definition. But clearly you had a different angle with it. You had a different interpretation with it. So I'm curious how you would suggest the reveal of understanding what communication really is.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think communication is an ongoing phenomena, and there's something. I think it's a neuro-linguistic programming has a statement: you cannot not communicate. You cannot not communicate. So there's nothing you can do. If you're sitting there silent, you're communicating.
You're communicating. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
There's
That's
no such
powerful.
thing as not communicating. Okay.
That's right.
Now, what sheer communication is when you're kind of checking with the listener, or you're exchanging with an audience body of some sort. You're exchanging someone who is collegially interested in that type of back and forth, typically. Okay. It doesn't have to be, by the way. It can definitely be one-way communication. But what we're talking about here is, like musicians or artists or dancers or singers or, actors. That can be sort of a one-way communication, but of course they're looking out to the crowd, and they're communicating in both directions. So you want to get an access to who are you communicating to. Does it take your voice to communicate? Content, it turns out, is quite overrated. What's really here, the reason why you and I mean, you're probably spending more time right now actually thinking about what it is you're going to ask me next than actually listening to what I have to say. And that's typical humanity. What's really here is me and you trusting our own authenticity. We hit it off, right? We got here 5 seconds later, we knew we were going to game.
Yeah, we did. Right out of the gates, man.
Okay, this is a ballin' hour. Here we go. We're rocking it. We don't have to ask any more credentials. We know we're going to game. That's how
That's
when
right.
we see each other, we're like, bam.
Yeah. Amen.
What that is a communication at a very high vibrational level that me and we're going to be able to dance hard together, as hard as we want here or as soft as we want. We already know that about each other, and even how we're exchanging now. You're seeing my head, I'm seeing yours. We're looking at each other. We're talking to each other. We're exchanging properly. That we already know that with this level of foundation, with this level of care, concern, and authenticity, we're likely to be able to communicate fairly effectively, even with all the twists and turns that have to come through electronics in order to make this shit happen in the first place.
Sure. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. And what I think about when you say that, because I'm watching, so I love what you're doing, by the way, and how you're doing it, because I'm a very big fan of the how it's done. Exactly. And what I just thought, like, how you get that instant download in your head, and it's like, dude, this dude, and I know you joked about your age, but I was like, he's in his 60s, but he's communicating at my level, man. He's like got that hip, fun, cool, like bro that's, one of your guys that you went out to the club with and you had some fun with. My question for you is because you've developed yourself possibly, or you're going to probably tell me how this all panned out, but do you plan on that being how you were? Did you want that to become, or did you have to become a chameleon and adapt almost in real time to whoever it was that you were communicating with? Therefore, when you see somebody like me and you're like, you're young, you're hip, you're just like, I didn't expect to see some hipster on here. Like, you come into my world and now you're like, I got him. And I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome, right? Because that's what I'm feeling right now. So how do you think about that or approach that? Or is that just you, right? And I understand the authenticity part.
Yeah, I think it's kind of both things. So I get, I was just thinking at 4:59, 1 minute before this started, my son called me back. I got a 31-year-old son in Dallas. And I guess he's actually 30, but he called me. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be on a podcast in 30 seconds, so we'll have to talk tomorrow. And the truth is, he's well, have a good time on your podcast, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, okay. He kept me fresh for sure. He kept me fresh for sure. He did.
Yeah.
It was really important for me to stay one step ahead of this child, of this man, of this amazing angel of a human. He's so fun. He's so radically fun. He's so sweet. He's so smart. He's so funny. He's so humble. He really is. And he gets all blushy and shit if I say all this, but I'm not even making it up. We all know him to be that, right? Right. So there's something about staying with him. But I'll tell you what else it is. As a psychiatrist and as a world traveler, it's been my intention ever since I got out of the playpen, I'm pretty sure, is to go out on the edges and find out what the other people are doing. And therefore, I think I developed a communication style that was at least fresh enough to be able to be, like you said, a chameleon. Because if the truth is, if you were Manny Vargas, who I thought you were going to be, this cigar smoking kind of fat dude in a couch, wondering, talking under his breath about I had no idea about what some sort of.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. Huh?
Exactly.
Like an Italian guy, I could throw my, hey man, from Mexico, I could talk to you like this, and you could be like, what the heck, man? I don't know who this guy is.
Exactly. Now here's the thing: with all three of those guys, I'd be all right. I would be completely all right with all three of them, and complete respect. You want to know why? Because it's love and respect at the heart of all communication. If I can set aside my previous judgments, my negative judgments I might have of anybody, and actually just be there enough with curiosity, I already know that I can likely hold my own.
Yep. And
then I can hold them up to hold their own, continue to show, continue to like serve up these big watermelon beach balls to hit, and just like, there you go. Here's a watermelon for you, and like, it's not, you don't need a whole lot of help, but some of these podcasters, man, they're pretty lame, and you gotta serve up shit to them. Otherwise the whole podcast's going to die.
I'm dying, man. That's cracking me up inside right there, man. You're fun, man. I had no idea what to expect here either, but this is off to a great start, man. I love it. By the way, that's just the truth, man. So some people out there are just, tire kickers, boring as rocks. And it's like, hey, respect them for what they're doing and all that stuff. But hey, it's just the way that it works, right? So that's great that you acknowledge that. But I do have something that I want to ask you about, because I found this about myself, and I think you'd have some good insight to this. There's often times where, like, I consider this my wheelhouse, right? I know, like you just said, I can build rapport and start communicating with anybody. One coach of mine told me back in the day, it was called code switching. And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, well, for example, she was a light-skinned African-American lady. And she's like, if I walked up to another light-skinned African-American lady, I could communicate with her. If I walked up to a white guy that was from the suburbs in a nice, rich area, I could communicate with him. If I went to the Bronx and I met a Latin person from Puerto Rico, I could communicate with them. And so I was like, okay. So essentially you're able to adapt your communication style, similar to a chameleon, but to communicate at that level with that individual, right? So that being said, there's times where I know I'm on these podcasts and I'm up to interview and I'm hosting. I can have fun with it all day. There's other times, Fred, where I'm at tables with other people. Maybe it's you and it's other, 5 other great guys that are doing some killer stuff in business. And I don't have much to say, because it's almost like I go inward and I'm like, you said you're a talkative guy, and I can see that with some people. Some people just like to talk and talk and talk and talk. I actually am not, unless I'm on this platform right now. Mm-hmm. I'm quiet. I'm kind of reserved. I don't know. But with your insight from your experience, what do you think that is for people to listen in on, to hear what your thoughts are also? And then for me to also be like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Cause I'm always learning, by the way, here with you too. Yeah. So, but you're the expert, man. So I'm curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, first of all. And I want to let you know that happens to me more often than not anyways. Even if I was a talker as a kid, you grow up and more often than not, if I'm sitting at a table of 8, I'm pretty quiet. But because I already know that the minute they tap on me and I actually give them what I think is a true answer, I'm likely to throw some heads back and create some agitation or create some sort of, wow, listen to him. So I guard my material, you know, and why do I guard my material, Manny? The reason I guard my material is because I'm not certain that the neighborhood is safe. That's the point. If it's like, what, you know, you do a risk benefit analysis. What would happen if I spoke right here? Either, you know, what if not much? It wouldn't happen, not much. These are just people, they're dead like a rock. Or maybe it's unsafe. I say my truth out here and I somehow feel unsafe. So I rather, you know, keep myself safe, because we're really, in the end, we're really just out here trying to survive. And so if I'm at a table with people who I'm not sure I'm safe, because that person over there, I've already seen how they react with something that is close enough to what I say, to, you know, why it's not worth it to put myself in danger, put my heart in danger, put my ego in danger, put my reputation in danger. So I might choose to go inward at that point, even if there are, like you said, in your case, you had 5, 6 people sitting at the table, all killing it in business. And you got something going on about being with 6 people who are killing it in business. You know, something there, maybe a core wound from a long time ago, or maybe you're killing it even more than they are and you don't want to show them up. Or maybe you know, you're like, you're doing everything you think is right and you're still finding trouble paying bills, and you don't want to speak to that in this crowd. These guys are all bragging about the $1 million they closed yesterday. And you're like, you know, can I borrow a 10 for some Chipotle, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's a safety feature. So I think we're really speaking to the essence of communication. Of pure communication means creating a safe space for the other person to actually listen to you and to actually speak their true voice, because that's what this is about.
Yeah, that's a spectacular answer, by the way. Like that, you know, if you were able to cross-check, you know, with a heightened sense of awareness, I think the level of awareness that's required for that, even for me, with what you just said, I can look back in right now and say, yep, you know what, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I keep myself protected or reserved. Sometimes I'm looking not to, because like you, I've identified other players in the matrix, and I'm looking at it like, if I say this, they could use that as a chess move and it could affect this outcome. So it's like, it's pretty spot on, man. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so okay.
Did
So
you
now,
say that you're live streaming right now, by the way?
no. We're
okay.
just not. I haven't got that far yet.
All right.
That's the next version. That's
right,
what we're gonna do next. So in terms of, you know, the work of being a psychiatrist, like, talk to me about some of the key things that you think people today are at risk of losing in terms of the nature of the environment of the world that we're living in, right? Because when it comes to mental health, this is a very poignant topic. I happen to value mental health very much. I mean, I've got my own philosophies and processes to apply to it, but from more of the background that you come from, what are you seeing is the greatest threat to the whole concept of mental health and the idea that people might lose themselves in the process? And what are you doing to fix that? I think I know, but you probably have, you know, a much more worldly answer than what I think I know.
Yeah. So there's at least a couple questions embedded here, and let me just get rid of one of the early ones. It's big enough, which is, I think the one thing we want to tell people is something close to, what if you're not mentally ill, but you're just human? Like, what are you doing stringing that mental illness as a chain around you? Why are you doing that? What's good in it? What's good in it for you? So that you're no longer responsible for when you're a jerk?
Ooh, that's powerful, folks. Listen up right there. Yep.
Look, I'm not saying you're not a jerk, and I'm not saying life doesn't suck, man. It's really scary sometimes, and really terrible shit's happening sometimes. And you know what? I get a big headache. I get very, very depressed, like to the very edges. Or I get very confused, or I get very nervous. You know why? Because I'm human. But if I got the balls to actually tell somebody else that there's something wrong with them because they're depressed or anxious, that's pretty audacious, man. I don't have the capacity to say that. What I have is that the world, from your standpoint, looks scary, or looks confusing, or looks depressing, or looks hopeless, or whatever the negative vibration is that you're experiencing, or the relationship you just blew, it kind of sucks. A broken heart hurts, or you just lost your cat in an accident. Man, that's painful. Grief is painful. But there's nothing wrong with you for having those experiences.
Right.
So if you can walk away from the idea that there's something wrong with you because you have negative feelings, well, then you just killed about 97% of all mental health problems. Okay. The next thing I want to say is the biggest threat in the world is not what most people think it is. No, it's not sex trafficking. It's not racism. It's not climate change. It's not even that virus thing. It's not. The biggest threat in the world, Manny, is that we're no longer speaking our true voices.
Oh, that's good right there. That one has to sit. That's a mic drop moment for a second. Just let that one, clear the airwaves for a second, man. I hope you all play that back a couple times. Come on, continue now, man. Come on, give us the rest, because that was good.
Look,
that was really good.
Look what we're doing. The world around us is contracting and constricting the way we can talk. We are consistently concerned with being canceled, censored. We're consistently concerned with being, nullified, or with being pushed off the island. We're concerned with the fear of trolls or the fear of whatever we say going to cause too much pain. So we become homogenous, and many of us are forgetting how to speak, and we're certainly not speaking our true voices when we do. We're speaking what the crowd allows for. We're no longer, what's happening is we're choosing to wash ourselves into the fabric. I believe that is the number one biggest threat on the planet by far. Imagine if by tomorrow something happened, they put something in the water or the air, and who knows, put it in some airborne, contrail or something, that brought authenticity to every single one of us. So all we could do now was speak our truth. The world would change pretty quickly, right that second, wouldn't it?
Oh man, in a heartbeat. It would be like in the movie where you walk into this new world, and it's got all these bright lights and these nice hills and rolling grass and beautiful things happening around it, right? What do they call that? Right. Wanderlust or something like that?
Wanderlust, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And when we say, what am I doing about it? Well, there's a couple things. I would say the number one thing to do about it is at least speak to its nature. When we say, oh, you know what, I'm going to find my true voice maybe next year. What are you talking about? What makes you think next year is even coming?
Right.
You really going to wait till then? You mean you're going to risk dying without ever saying what was really on your mind? Wow. Now, if that's really what you want to do, really more power to you, and let me know how it goes. But the truth is, what we want to do is we want to be heard for our authentic self. Somewhere, people are listening and waiting eagerly and urgently to hear what you have to say. Now, True Voice, the methodology, is the follow-up to the Welcome to Humanity. And True Voice podcasting, I love podcasting for this purpose. Am I right? I mean, there's not a more effective, efficient pattern of communication that's available to speak a true voice than podcasting on the planet right this very minute. Nothing close.
Right. Agreed.
This is your material. It's not about to get canceled. It's not about to get censored. You're not being monitored, probably. I mean, you might be already. That's why now is the time. Because look, podcasting offers a possibility of delivering that true voice into a set of airwaves, and then actually earmarking it for a group of people who are really curious and interested in what you have to say.
Yeah.
You can explore, you can create, you can teach, you can learn, you can converse, you can discover while you're on podcasting, and you can even, make friends, make money. You can make a name for yourself, and you get to do it from your own basement if you want.
Yeah, so true.
It's true. Killer, man.
Especially now, it's cool. It's even cooler now, Fred, to do it from home and not have to have a fancy setup or background because of the pandemic. It's like You have permission to be at home and throw up your kitchen background or whatever else it is you have surrounding you, and people are going to be like, "Fantastic! What you got for me?"
Exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't matter at all.
Well, look, the thing that it's fun, it's easy, and you can take on really powerful things, or you can take on really silly things, or you can take on things that are, scary, or you can take on things that are just superficial. You can do whatever you want. And it's just a place where there are so many podcasters out there, but not many who are doing it right. And, not many who are distributing and promoting their podcast so it is landing in the proper ears. But done right, my goodness, the capacity to very rapidly become someone who's making a difference in the world, which most of us really want to be, is so excellent. And, you just surround yourself with a group of cool podcasters and off you go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I read, was it yesterday? I think actually I was reading some stats on the podcast, total amount of podcast shows. If I remember correctly, I have to cross-reference the data, which was 2013, 12 or 13, maybe 14, there was like 60,000 podcast shows. And then up until, I think, was it the year before, somewhere in 2019 or 20, I went to like 2 million. It was
2 million is the number I heard.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. I mean, but that's still so fresh in the game, right? I mean, that's like an early number there. But for example, I'm with you 1000%. And I can remember back to my first day podcasting, I put a cup in the middle of a table that was sticking out with my iPhone, the speaker out, little app that was recording a group conversation around a table. I was terrified, like you said, leading it, figuring out how to control it. They didn't want to talk very much. I was like, oh crap. There are real people out there that have a real strong desire to want to get their voice out, but that does not keep them from being afraid or nervous about how they sound, or not feeling good enough about what their voice and their message means. So what do you suggest to people in terms of getting over that? Because of course, everybody yearns for that on the inside. I want to share my story. I want to tell the world what I believe. So that's the first part of that. So segment that. And then the other part is the person that wants to do it, but also has a job, or they're concerned, like you said, about saying the wrong thing and risk losing some security or some stability, so that then they can't provide for their family, or they have no place to go after that, which are very real scenarios right now, right? So both sides, maybe answer one and then the next, and then let's see how that goes.
Okay, yeah. So in the first question, you have people who really want to get their message out, but they don't know how to do it. Or they're, what my friend and I call it is someone who says they want a podcast, but they don't really want a podcast, So like, they're like, you really want to get your voice out, but in the end, all things considered, you'd just rather stay quiet another day. And, it was usually with very good reason. There's someone in your family or a friends, or like you said, an employer or something. And if you said your true voice, you could risk your reputation and risk losing things. But the thing is, we protect ourselves by speaking our untrue voice. And we still get thrown off the island.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the
truth?
You
still get ostracized.
Yeah.
You still get canceled.
Yeah.
Like you tried to lie your way out of it and you still got censored. So it's not like speaking an untrue voice is truly a way to protect yourself. If it was, I think I would tell people, keep being untrue. There's no reason to be true. But there is good reason to be true, because once you're true, then you've laid that out and you can keep going forward. You might be ostracized. You might be mangled up. You might be canceled or censored. You might be nullified. Someone might get really angry with you. You might really disappoint a crew.
Yep.
Okay. Welcome to humanity, dude. That's just welcome to humanity. And so what do we do at True Voice Podcasting? We really dedicate almost every session. It's a 13-week course, the main flagship course. And every week we spend a good amount of time looking at what's in the way of us, who we are now, and what our voice could be. And we say, we create a safe environment amongst the participants and amongst the co-leaders, me and my friend Sean. And in that space where safety resides, people get an opportunity to actually practice being their true voice. It's amazing what emerges.
Yeah.
People start saying shit they've never said in their life that's been there the whole time.
Yeah. You're like, there you are. I knew you were in there.
Exactly.
Like, thank you for revealing yourself.
Exactly. Thank you for being kind enough, for having us actually see who you really are underneath there. And we can tell. You could tell you're no longer wearing that armor, that veneer. So we spend a lot of time with that. You know what, though? Even at the end, as the course ends, we're just finishing up cohort, so we're 12 and a half weeks into a 13-week cohort. And, I'm noticing even as the course ends and these people are ready to be launched out into being podcasters, the fear again is constricting and contracting them, like it does for me and you, by the way. I don't know about you, but before every podcast, I got some jitters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if I'm, if there's some degree of gravity that I've put to it, maybe there's a time constraint, or maybe it's an iconic guest I have, or maybe, those kind of like really trying to make a difference to a big downline or something. Then I get.
So you're saying that I'm the iconic guy,
right? You're all three of those things. Yeah, you're all three. I think that goes. You and your audience knows I was talking about you the whole time.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I just wanted to make sure you said that out loud, so I had it. I had to record it.
It's important that you hear it twice, I think, so you can make sure that I was talking about you the whole time. And I think that's great that you asked for me to do that again.
Yeah. Hey, third time's a charm, though. Please.
Yeah, no, you're the icon. I think everyone here knows that. If it wasn't for you, there'd be no, Always on the Grow podcast, and many of us can't even take another breath without at least knowing there's another Always on the Grow podcast coming. I know that I'm like that, and probably all your listeners are.
Yeah. You're the man. Fred's the man, by the way, folks. He's just the man. By the way, this is my 5th podcast scheduled today. 2 didn't show. This is the 3rd that I actually have done. What a great way to finish the day. I think it's awesome. Yeah, my man.
So the next thing you're talking about is it's like, what happens if, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I got a job. I got things I could lose. What happens if I say the wrong thing and my boss hears me talking and saying that I love the Red Sox when really he's a huge Yankees fan? Or I love Michigan. He's like a huge Buckeye fan.
Mm-hmm.
He said, whoa, I didn't know you were a Michigan fan, dude. I guess you're fired. I didn't, or, and I'm using a really, what do you want to say? Like a benign example, but there's some things out there where there's a fair amount of what do you want to call it? Like divergence, a fair amount of division going on in our community. If you believe one thing about something or another thing about something.
Yeah.
And once you believe that, like even with me and you, we got to know that in the next sentence, even though we're having such a good time, either of us could drop a bomb in the next second. And then we would say, I really like that guy until he said that. Now I don't ever want to see his ass again. One sentence can create that.
Yeah.
I thought he was cool. And then he said that. Now I don't even want to hear another word he has to say about anything.
Got to be a boundary with that, though. I think there's certain things that are categorized, Fred, as like places you don't go. Like, for example, and this is going to sound really crazy because we're actually talking about this. Like, if you were to say, I prefer to go out and sex traffic women, I'd be like, whoa, dude, that's not okay, because that is not okay, I don't think, in any case. But if you were like, dude, fuck the Yankees, I was a Boston Red Sox fan, I'm like, cool, dude. I was like, great, you have an opinion. Like, that's awesome, right? So I think that there are categories with areas that sort of maybe have a boundary that we can't, not that we can't talk about it, but if you were presenting yourself as somebody that was, sort of a criminal or maybe, rogue and breaking the law, do you see where I'm going with that sort of idea right there?
I more than know where you're going with that.
Okay.
So there is, you could say, you think there's some easy ones, like Holocaust or, sex trafficking, or, you think there's some that are really easy. And I suppose there are. You're not supposed to get on the air and say, yeah, I'm a pro, I'm pro sex trafficking.
Right.
It's not going to work for any population.
Yeah.
Except for the population that it would work for.
Right. Which are the only other ones.
And it would work for them.
Yeah.
It would work for them. They'd be like, dude, finally one of us is talking their shit. Finally, someone is finding their true voice. That's what they'd be thinking.
And that goes to show you how radical thought process for some people is, because there are, in fact, people out there like that, by the way.
Dude, it's the number one industry in the freaking world.
Yeah.
There's not just a few of them.
Yeah, a lot.
There's a lot of them, and some of them you know, but you don't know that you know them.
Wow. Yeah, That's
And
distasteful.
you know what? And I'll tell you what, and I'm not promising this, and this is a delicate topic. And you see, I'd rather talk about Red Sox Yankees because it's the same topic without that level of risk. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We go Red Sox Yankees rather than sex traffickers, anti-sex traffickers. But what's interesting, if you can even imagine, is if you can back up far enough to get the world of how the hell does that person think that this is not only okay, but what they want to do to spend their time with. Like, what the F happened
Right.
to have this dude talk that shit? If you can back off far enough to actually listen to the, even if you think he's just a flat out goon Satan, there's some real value in that and how you deal with your next human. If you write them off totally because they have a view on something that just doesn't work in your paradigm, the loser there without question is you.
Dude, that's a profound point. And that's going to disturb some people, but I get it. I get it because you're leading with, regardless of what they believe or what they contribute to, the concept is to back off of it and have ownership and control of how you interpret things, regardless of what they're doing to some extent, right? So like
pretty much
it's like removing the judgment gene and the idea that that's wrong. Why? Because you said so, to some extent. I mean, that's how I take it a little bit. I totally understand where you're coming from with that. And I fully get it too.
Well, here's the thing. You can believe it's wrong, and I'm not telling you to start believing that it's right.
Right.
I'm not even telling you for 1 second to believe for 1 second, just because you got a dude over there causing genocide, that it's worth giving him time. Or, you know, worth like accepting what he's, I'm not saying that. But what else are you going to do? If you just reject everything he's saying, there's no value in that either. So, but if you can learn about humanity now by listening to those people that are flat out total opposite, like, you know, adversaries to you, you know, like juxtapose, like, you know, like really just the opposite of who you are. If you can walk through the world and at least give yourself a chance to hear where the hell they're coming from, just a chance. I'm no good at it either, by the way. I'm not good at it. I have, you know, there's some shit you could say right now, and I just, oh man, oh wow, I really thought he was cool, and then he said that.
Yeah.
Now I think he's sort of cool, as long as you don't ask him about anything like that.
Yeah. Well, let me see if I can figure this out. Then let me give
it. There's some of those things, you know. I mean, you know, it's like, so it's the divisive nature of some of the topics that are now swamping our world allows for that. So, you know, and whether it's climate control, even, you know, as abortion or whatever these topics are, or the virus or the vaccines, of course, or if you talk about racism or sex trafficking, these things that are so loud. And you know, good people take my side. Mm-hmm. It's the opposite, actually. I take the side because I see that's where good people go.
Right. Right.
I want to be with the good people. So, you know, the good people, they say this about that. I don't even know shit about that, but I know that the good people say this about that. So therefore, I'm going to say this about that too. How do I know? Because good people say this shit about that. And I want to be with the good people. What I want to say about that, Manny, is that is humanity. There is nothing bad or wrong about that. But there's an opportunity to speak a true voice too, not just the prevailing conversation. And in that, there is massive power and freedom waiting for everybody to speak your true voice and then follow whoever you want.
Yeah, yeah.
But what if you were true about it? What if you're like, the reason I feel this way about that is because everyone I know that's cool feels this way about that. And I'm certainly, this isn't a big enough one for me to get off the bus. I'll just buy what they say. You know, going to another benign one, you know, like I remember you were kind of young for this, but maybe you weren't even born yet. But you know, there's clothing trends, right? Like Abercrombie and Fitch clothing trends, or Roots, or like overalls, or purple hair, or whatever your
bell
shit
bottoms, man.
Bell bottoms.
Yeah.
And you just do it. You just do it, and then you think, oh yeah, this is the best. You don't know that it's the best. You're just doing what the cool people. The Beatles did it, so I do it. It's like that. And we're funny like that. And that's not true voice. There's nothing wrong with it. But wouldn't it be cool to really get, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Even that would be a true voice.
So breaking down this true voice concept, as far as what you said earlier, being able to say what you feel, believe, think, is that the essence of it? I mean, taking stage and just letting it fly?
No, not letting it fly. No.
Okay.
No. It's taking into consideration the absolute context of who's here, why to say it, what you're saying, what's the impact, what is your point, what's going to happen if you are heard, what is the effectiveness of what you're saying. Getting on stage and just shitting a bunch of diarrhea and saying, there you go, that's what I had to say. That's stupid too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's rude and stupid and pointless and bullshit.
So notice, like I'll point this out for people. Notice what Fred just said. That's like speaking, and there's real no intent with the word that's coming out, versus true voice. It has purpose. You just gave like a formula around that. So people can talk and there's noise coming out of their mouth, but what's being said about it, it's like, well, that's useless information. Why the heck do I want to listen to that? What's the like? Don't even share that. But then at the same time, Fred, isn't it don't they have a right to share nonsense if that's...
Look, it's a judgment call, and this is where we start making mistakes, and this is when we start getting concerned about it. So let's say I do say something polarizing. Like let's say I would say something like psychiatric medicines never work. Let's say I would say it. There'd be some people get really upset about that.
Yeah, of course.
But we already know they're not working that good.
Because people still go,
they're not working that good.
Yeah, right.
They're just not. I get that I get that they make you feel a little better than when you don't take them. So at least you think so. But if I was to say that might be really polarizing. Now, if I walk into a hospital where everybody's taking medication and the whole place is running on the fact that people are taking medication and them and their families all think that the medication is doing them right, and I take the stage in the middle of the day room and just say, I got an effing announcement for y'all. Medicines don't work. That's not going to have the same effect of the people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired and so sick of trying every single medication, having now learned that medicines don't work and are just reaching for their last grasp for how can they get grandma's life back. Now, if they show up, if I got a crowd of them showing up, the first thing I'm saying when I get on stage, no worries, y'all, medicine doesn't work. And now I get a standing O. Now, it's not like these are my people. It's that what could I have said in the first crowd? In the first crowd, I can really be compassionate with everybody's pain, right? Because that's what's here. What's here to be effective and compassionate with everybody's pain.
Right.
With the second crowd, I can be really actually proud and interested in the possibility that I might have created for there to go a different direction if that's what they really want. Now, I think what you're pointing to is, what happens if it's time to me to lay an egg, like actually crack the ice, actually say something that nobody else in the room is going to say?
Yeah.
Is that worth it? The answer to that is, well, you got to weigh the ins and outs, I suppose. We got one life to live. What's really stopping you from saying it? Are you scared of being rejected? You scared of getting nullified, censored, canceled? That's not good enough. That's not a good enough reason. If it's not going to land there the way that you wanted it to, if there's no chance of what you're saying landing it there in a way to move the needle forward, then sir, do not say it. The only reason to speak is to be heard. If no one's going to hear what the hell you have to say, then either say it differently or shut the fuck up.
Yeah. To which at that point, you got to learn a better skill. right? Saying it differently means you have to equip yourself to learn how to communicate differently.
And then that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could be comfortable in a crack house, and you can be comfortable in a mansion, and you can be comfortable in a high school, and you can be comfortable in a, delivery room, then go ahead, bring out your best goods. You're a miracle. You're a miracle. Not like we're all miracles. We all can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Be kind, be compassionate, be accepting the best you can, forgive as quickly as you can, say what you mean what you say, fix it when you don't, realize that you're human, you're going to make mistakes, realize that there's pain coming around the corner, really, really serious pain.
Right.
Serious pain. And anyone who's telling you that you're wrong to feel pain, it's like telling a log is wrong to burn in a fire.
Right. Or grow in the woods, right?
Or grow in the woods, right. Yeah.
So look, for someone like you, Fred, that's as astute in the subject of communication, self-expression, true voice.
Yeah.
Even on the more of the educational side of going through the mental health, psychiatry, psychiatrist. For you, what is something you still battle with? What are some like obstacles that you face that because you've read the books, correct. you've got some stuff, and I'm curious to know like what humanizes you. What's some of those pains that you face? Yeah,
I'll tell you what. That's a really great question. Super awesome question. So, my escape is to be a champion for other people's voice, and that becomes so my voice is to be a champion for all others. So that way I'm, how I feel about a particular topic or not isn't nearly as important that way. I really don't care so much about how I feel about any topic. Now, that's not entirely true. There's some shit I'm like, holy cow, man.
It's like, whoa.
Like, yeah, like wow. Yeah. There's shit like that. But even that shit, I can be really amused with it. So what instead, it was sometime almost a couple years ago, I suppose. I suppose probably after March, that it was like, oh, this is an assault on our true voice. That's exciting. That's no longer divisive. That's no longer polarizing. And it's a bigger topic than anything anyone else is talking about. Imagine all of us without a tongue.
Man.
Now we're talking the other side.
Right.
We are close. We are 4 snips away from being, look, I don't mean to declare doomsday, but look what happens if they shut down the internet, then shut down your electricity, then shut down your phone lines, and then close the gas stations.
You got nothing.
Your life just changed. Like, you know what? The thing that's really reassuring about that though is it would take them probably 4 seconds to do that rather than 1.
Right.
Because they'd have to hit 4 switches, maybe.
Yeah.
But probably the electricity internet thing they could do with maybe 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a little bit of time after they do it to say your prayers,
Isn't that people probably are like, huh? And no, it's that easy for them. It's like we're living in this big stage play, right? And there's just a bunch of puppets running around and they're dancing around, living life. They don't realize that the lights can go out and strings can be cut any moment.
Literally.
Yeah.
No, literally. Like that's not even science fiction, man. That's just the truth.
That's the truth.
It is 1 switch away. And really those 4 things, we recently came up with those 4 things, like the internet, power, gasoline, and phone lines.
Man. I mean, you'd still have your physical life, but can you imagine?
Not really. You do for a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
Your food's not staying.
yeah.
Your food's not staying cold very
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
You got no oven.
If your power's gone, yeah, I guess that was the thing. I was thinking, how could you live in a world where you don't need a phone or internet or gas to travel? But I guess you couldn't, right? I mean, it would have to work off something.
So that's how close we are. We are way closer to being there than we are to the idea that authenticity is going to be dropped down from a contrail.
Right.
Which one of those is imagined?
Do you know what, Fred? I do think that we are also. I really believe I champion some guys out there that are pro, keeping America capitalism and really fighting for the American job. I see a lot of them now. It's getting very loud, very noisy, like you said. It is. And I do think that a very, very large part of people are turning over and be like, "What the hell's going on with this?"
Exactly.
Whole thing? Like they're really starting to raise their eyebrow and saying the way it's worked is not working.
I know. Right? Look, I got a pretty big smile on my face, and it's like the other piece of this is we're so afraid to die. We think that's like the ultimate bummer of all time, and yet it's combined with being the only inevitable aspect of our life. Mm-hmm. Now, the fact that we are completely terrified of the only part of life that is certain is a pretty twisted combination.
Yeah.
Like that would be the one thing that you probably should stop being terrified about.
Sure. It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. People are like, at least I'm not dying. I'm like, no kidding. How did you? Yes, you are. What's your diagnosis? You're dying.
Yeah.
How about my baby's diagnosis? Born yesterday. Sorry.
Same thing.
Dying.
Yeah. There's a great concept in a book that I read by Robert Greene, The Laws of Human Nature. His last chapter in that book talks about meditating on mortality. And this is exactly what you're talking about. Like, look, the one thing that makes us all human is that we all share the mortality of life, and that because of that, you should live with urgency, with initiative, pull all your fears and insecurities off and go in and drive and make it work to the best you can, in a nutshell, right? I think that's what you're saying right there. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Look, we can have fun here all day and night, man. I know you probably got a jet, timing wise. We'll have to circle back and do some more stuff again. I think this would be too much fun, man. I would really love for you to share where people can come and find more about your podcasting programs, your books, more about you. I know you said Welcome to Humanity already, but if you want to point them into the right direction.
Sure.
And then I got one last question for you before we end this hoorah, because it's been fun, by the way. I've had a blast.
Fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it goes fast, man. It goes real fast.
So the best way to get a hold of me is my email is drfred@welcometohumanity.net. That still is the best way. And I have this team now, I finally have put together a team of people who do the stuff they do way better than I do what they do. And so these people who are putting together my landing pages and my websites and my pitches and my funnels. I don't even know what this stuff is, but they're taking care of it, and putting together a whole theme and a whole branding concept and all that. And so most of this is built around the future of True Voice and True Voice methodology, True Voice podcasting. So on Facebook, I have a True Voice podcasting community group, and we are having a summit. The summit is on February 19th and 20th. And the public is invited to that. It's free, and really, you're gonna be able to celebrate with us the graduation of all these new podcasters that have just come through my program. And we're going to have some guest stars that are pretty hot, and we're going to really look at the future of communication and the future of electronic communication and what it takes to actually get your voice out there. So I'm really excited to promote that. And I do have a book or two. The book I have is called Creative 8. I've had that for a few years, healing through creativity and self-expression. And, you can get a copy of that at welcometohumanity.net/creative or /creative8. One of those is an audio and another one is the PDF. And I have the new book coming out. And the new book is called, imagine this, it's called Find Your True Voice. And so find...
No way.
Yeah, no, really. I know we haven't really haven't really touched on that much today, but that is a little bit, that's another thing that I'm doing. And so find your true voice, and my whole, the whole bottom line of what finding true voice is, and then looking for ways that I can bring this message out there. So there's I do some advisory work, I do some consultant work, I like doing expert speaker work, speaking to small and large crowds who may or may not be ready to find their true voice. And, more than anything, I love my podcast. So I love Welcome to Humanity podcast, and I like being a podcast guest. And shoot, it's really reached a time in my life where even though all that nonsense is going on out there, it's never been better than it is this very second. Never. I mean, kind of crazy, but shoot.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly appreciative of you and your team and, helping orchestrate this thing. This has been, I love this, man. This is fun. Like cool. This real fun. We'll have to, figure out ways to do some cool stuff moving forward, stay in touch, keep building the relationship. I always like to keep it real with people, right? Like, people that are listening too, they don't know how we connected. So it's like, we're doing this for the first time. We're just launching out this because we're two podcasters having a good time, bantering back and forth. Now we're going to build a relationship moving forward, see how we can help each other out, and stay tuned. But before you go, man, the question is, what does always on the grow mean to you?
I think that means something I was speaking to this morning, actually, in a men's group that I'm in on Thursday. And I spoke directly to this, which is that, even when I think I'm not growing, even when I think I'm going backwards, even, I had really started the morning so great this morning. And then I took the next 2 hours, I had a great workout and a great meditation. I had some good celery juice. I was rocking it. And then like 2 hours later, I noticed that I just screwed off the last 2 hours. And why did I do that? I did that because I'd already had a good couple hours. So I thought I could screw off for a couple hours, and I'm 1-1 all of a sudden, right? Even though during that time, I felt like I wasn't growing, I was working on my fireplace and all. And even if I think I'm not growing, I'm growing. Even when I think I'm growing backwards, I'm growing. Even when I don't feel like I'm growing, or it looks like I backed up, or it looks like I forgot, or it looks like I did the same shit again, those are all growth episodes. Wow. Everything we do, every single second that we live, we're growing. Whether we just don't know what direction growth is. It isn't always up, or it isn't always more, and it really isn't always better. It's just always growth. And I say that's what I would think always on the grow, man.
That's a spectacular. I mean, that might be the best answer I've heard on this show.
Yeah, you can use it, but we'll talk about royalties and shit like that. I don't give away that shit. So
yeah, so you're saying I can't clip that and put it as part of my branding and everything?
You can. We just need to talk. Your people need to talk to my people. We need to pull something off with respect to.
I'll just put your face in the middle of the O right here, man. I'll just put right there.
We might be able to work something out.
Yeah. So I think that'd be great, man.
With the beard and everything now.
Yeah. The beard might blend in with the gray, man. I don't know if it works so well. We have to color it in purple or something, man. No, this has been a blast, Fred. I appreciate you, man. Really, really an honor to have you and just connect here and kind of, for the lack of better term, shoot the shit a little bit and have some fun, share some great insight, and keep up the good work, buddy.
Thank you. You too. You're a great communicator, a great interviewer. Super fun to be with you. Thank you for bringing out my very best. I had a blast being with you. Thank you.
Rock and roll. Hey, let's stay in touch, man. All right. We're cool there.
We'll come be on the podcast. Come be in the podcast summit. We're looking for speakers and stuff, but either way, come on in and cheer on our folks, because they're up to some cool stuff. We'll keep in touch.
Let's text and email, man. I'm curious about that. Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, my man. Enjoy your night, brother. Appreciate you, friend.
Love you.
All right. Bye-bye.